Hi there, I'm Debbie Hilliker and this is Shiplap in the Kitchen. So today I am going to be talking about mycotoxins. So those of you who watched my story, my first video actually, my story, know that I was diagnosed after a long journey with mycotoxin or mold poisoning. And boy, I have learned so much about mold, and so I just want to give you a couple of tips, what to look for, how to avoid mold in your house, and more importantly, in your body. So just a few things, and before I get started, I just want to kind of put a disclaimer out there that I am not a medical expert, not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm just somebody who has been through a lot, and I've learned a lot, and I'm just sharing what I've learned and my story with you. So first of all, for those of you who have no idea what a mycotoxin is, what a mycotoxin is, and I actually wrote the definition down so that I would get it right. One of the things that mold does is it kind of messes with your memory a little bit, so I have to have notes. But a mycotoxin is a naturally occurring toxin produced by certain molds. It's a fungus, it's a fungi. And so, some people kind of get it, the difference between a mold allergy and a mycotoxin, like a mold poisoning. There is a difference. And so I don't have a mold allergy. I have been poisoned by mold, by the toxin that comes off of a mold. And so there are many different types of mycotoxins. And but some of the most popular ones that you've heard about is penicillin and aspergillus. And so I'm going to talk just a little bit about those two. And also citrinin, did I say that right? It's called citrinin, is also another one. But mycotoxins can cause a variety of adverse health effects. And so it can pose a very serious threat to a human body and also livestock. And so there can be an acute poisoning, or there can be more of a serious poisoning that can actually affect an immune deficiency and even cancer. So it's a serious thing. And for those of you who have seen mold grow, you know that it's a fungus, right? So it grows if it's not dealt with and treated. And so that's what it does in our bodies. It will grow. And so we've got to stop the growth, and we've got to get it out of the body. And some of the symptoms, if you have mold or poisoning or a mycotoxin or toxicity, are chronic fatigue, which is something that I really struggle with. And it's for those of you who have chronic fatigue or who have had chronic fatigue, you know that it can be very, very debilitating. Also, ADHD can be caused from a mycotoxin. Rashes, COPD, because it really affects the lungs, depression, and I've had a lot of these. In fact, I'm a singer, and I have led worship ever since I was a little girl. Probably, I don't know, I was kindergarten, I guess, when I started singing, and it was one of the things that I couldn't do for a while, and even now I still don't feel like I have full lung capacity, and so I've got to get that back. But also rashes, I've had that, got that under control, thank goodness. Depression, something that I have been fighting, and for those of you who do know me know that that is not part of who I am. I'm not a depressed person. I've always been a very healthy, vibrant person, and so that's been a very different thing that I've had to deal with. Mycotoxin poisoning can cause all kinds of things too. I mean, I've had so many different symptoms and so many different things that I've had to deal with over the years. And one of the biggest issues, and actually at the beginning of this whole journey, was stomach issues. I just had a stomach ache all the time. And then anytime I'd eat anything, my stomach would hurt so bad. And so my stomach was definitely compromised because of the mold toxicity. And so that is still a struggle to this day. And, we'll get in with more videos about, what I've done to heal my gut. But I've got to get this mold out of my system, I believe, until I can fully heal. So a lot of things that affected my thyroid. My thyroid would be hyper, then hypo, and it couldn't figure out what it wanted to do. That is under control now. In fact, my thyroid looks perfect. But the biggest thing for me that I'm dealing with today is that my adrenals are tired. They're just tired. And the chronic fatigue, I still struggle with the anxiety just because of that fatigue. And so it's just a constant battle. So many times I can't really hold my head up. I'm just so tired, and I just have to fight through it every day. And so right now I'm actually on short-term disability. My doctor felt it was beneficial to try to reduce as much stress in my life as possible to try to get ahead of this thing. And so that is what I'm doing. Another thing that mycotoxins do is they do affect your brain, and I really struggled with remembering words. I found myself I can't think of words in the middle of a sentence, and it's very, very frustrating. If you saw my desk, I have notes. I have to keep notes so that I remember things, and it's very, very, very frustrating. And I know that that's going to come back, so I'm very optimistic. So the type of mycotoxin that I was exposed to was one called ochratoxin A, and that's part of the Aspergillus family. And it's just so interesting. You can find ochratoxin A in cereal, grains, dried fruit, wine, coffee. I'll have another episode on wine and coffee and why we need to be careful about the consumption of certain types of coffees and wines. If you don't really know where they're coming from, there definitely can be mold in those. But also where they found the ochratoxin A in my house was in my Jetta bathtub in the master bathroom. And even though I never turned the jets on, I would take detox baths probably 2-3 times a week to detox my body because I was so sick. And every time I took a bath, I was re-exposing myself to this mycotoxin and making myself worse. And so in the jets, there was this horrible mold that was toxic, and I just happened to be the one in my family that was exposed to this, or everybody was exposed to it in my family, but I was the one who it really affected. And so my husband went in and had to rip out the whole master bath, and there was a toilet we had to rip out, but also the whole attic was full of mycotoxins. And so my husband went up and literally we took so much stuff to the dump because we had no choice. We had to either burn it, get rid of it, including all kinds of Christmas decorations. But we got rid of everything. The house is basically mold-free. The only room is the master bedroom that we're still dealing with candida in there, which is a fungus. And there is a definite correlation between mold toxicity, candida, and so it's a fungus, and so we got to starve that fungus so it dies. So we're getting that under control. Some of the foods that you really need to avoid when you have a mycotoxin are cereals and grains, dried fruit, wine, coffee, all alcohol, really, corn, wheat, barley, mushrooms, which I love mushrooms, sugar cane, all sugar. No sugar. I was really bad during the holidays, and I feel it. Trust me, I feel it. Sugar beets, peanuts, cashews, rye, bananas, all dairy products, all yeast, all products with yeast. And so those are the things that really feed that fungus. And so those are the things that I have been eliminating out of my diet now. I kind of, fighting that depression just last year, everything that was going on, and then also my own health issues. I, went through several periods of time where I said, screw it, I'm going to eat whatever I want, and not smart. And so I am back on track again, and it's really, really important that if you do have a mycotoxin, if you do have candida, I think so many people have candida, don't even realize it. You need to stay away from all inflammatory foods, anything that's going to feed that fungus. And so that is something that I am definitely doing. So what can you do to avoid getting mycotoxins in your house and being exposed to those? First of all, really be very diligent about not having moisture in your home. Check your windows and make sure that there's no mold growing and that there's no moisture. And how mycotoxins grow is when there's no air getting to it, right? It's stagnant air, moist stagnant air, and it's not flowing. The air is not flowing. That's where it's really dangerous. And so if you have moisture that's trapped somewhere in your house, make sure you're diligent about checking that. Your windowsills, your floors, your bathroom, if you had a water leak around your toilet, don't just wipe it up and think you're good, right? Make sure that there isn't moisture trapped under the toilet that is growing mold, because it could be very, very toxic to you. Jetatubs. I wouldn't recommend having a jetatub, but if you do, make sure you clean those jets very, very good. There's all kinds of product that you can get that helps kill that mold. Make sure, bleach doesn't work, by the way. Bleach does not kill mycotoxins. There are some things that you need to do to kill the mycotoxin. There's products that you can use. It's available on Amazon. My husband and I, there's see, there goes my brain. Where you can the bomb, what's it called? Anyways, in the house. And there's also, we ended up getting a machine called an Ozone Generator, and great investment. It's something that we will continue, use, where our goal is every quarter. We're a little bit past that now. And that will kill all spores. I mean, the spores is something you have to really be careful about too, because you could, move the mycotoxins out of your house and disrupt all those spores, and those spores just go all over your house, get into your furniture and your floors and into your clothes. And so all that needs to get out. The ozone generator will actually kill all of that. And so that's something that we will continue to use in our home, best investment that we made. But you've got to get rid of that mold first, and then you have to make sure all those spores are killed as well. So those are some things to really think about. Also outside, there's mold that grows in the leaves, and there's mold everywhere, right? I live in Washington State, and there's mold everywhere. Probably the worst place to live if you have mold poisoning. But anyhow, God is bigger than the mold. But just to be aware of those things and make sure that you're being diligent, that you don't have mold growing. Check your food in your refrigerator. Make sure there's not mold growing on your cheese and inside maybe some old salsa or, you know, some cans of food that you have in your refrigerator. Don't scrape the top off and eat it, please. Please don't do that. Just throw it away. Don't put that in your body. But I think if you're really, really diligent and make sure that you are keeping mold at bay, out of your house, away from you completely, you will not get this mycotoxin poisoning. And I definitely have learned a lot about that. So I hope you've learned something. If you have any comments or questions about mycotoxins, please just put it in the comments and I will do my best to try to answer that. I will also put the links to some of the products that we use, as well as the Ozone Generator, in the comments in the description below, so that you can look at those. I even have a solution that I put into my washing machine when I wash my clothes, just to stay on top of it. And it kills. I also have spray for my pets and shampoos for my pets, just to make sure that they aren't carrying those spores as well. So I hope it was a little bit interesting. I hope you learned a little something. My biggest thing I wanted to do out of this video was to just keep you safe and hopefully give you some tips on how to avoid going through the same thing that I did on my journey. So if you like this, if you want more, please hit the subscribe button. And one of my favorite quotes, and I have 2 signs in my house that say this, is do something, one thing every day that makes you happy. Have a great day.